Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today I'm going to take you through the irrigation system at my place. Now, what this is going to cover is from beginning to end what you need to have a good irrigation system. So the first place we're going to start is where the water connects to the city water, and let me show you what we have at my place. Now, I live in Pleasant Grove, Utah, and in Pleasant Grove, Utah, we use secondary water. That means it's not gone through the purification process. It's water that just comes straight out of the creek into a tank and then is pumped to everybody's houses. That water is turned off by the city at the tank every winter, and then it is turned on about April 15th, ready to use by the 1st of May every year. So this is the valve that we turn off to turn the water off at the street. Now, if you have culinary water, there'll be a smaller cap that will lead down to a valve that looks just like this, where you can turn the irrigation water off. It's cut off from the culinary water to your house. There's those two kinds of connections that connect the water to the city water. Now, the next thing that you need, this is my next valve box. Because we have secondary water, we need a filter. Now, if it's culinary water, it's not as important because, culinary water has been filtered already. So anyway, because we have secondary water, we have a filter, and then we also have a hose spigot right there in case we want to use it, and we can turn the water off at this bulb valve. The next step is your valve box. Now, we have a larger valve box here because we have 3 valves in it that have been well spaced apart, so they're easy to work with. Now, there's different kinds of valves. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but all of these valves are drip irrigation valves. They do not do well with spray heads. There's a secondary filter in these, and there's a pressure reducer. Now, you need the pressure reducer and the filter so you don't destroy your irrigation drip line. Let me go show you what my spray head valves look like. So right here is my backyard valve box, and it has my spray head irrigation and one drip irrigation head. Now, the spray heads do not have a filter on them, but they can be turned on and off at this valve box. But they can also be turned on and off in the irrigation controller box. Let me go show you what that looks like. Now, before we get there, I'm going to show you where we've connected the electricity. All valve boxes need to be connected to a controller, and they also need to have electrical connected to them. This is the electrical to the front box. That's the electrical to the back box. And they all come together at my irrigation controller. Let's go look at that. Now, this is my irrigation controller. I just got a new, it looks like it's closing. I just got a new smart controller installed. There's so many different kinds. I don't even know which one to suggest to you. But the smart controllers, you can actually get a rebate for in Utah. There's certain ones. This one is the Hydro Rain. And I have an online app where I can control each zone. And here's where the 2 wires come in. We had to drill a hole through my house. This one was existing, and this is the new one. So anyway, you need to connect your valve boxes to a controller. A lot of controllers are in the garage. Mine is in the house. I don't know why they chose to install it in the house, but this is where they installed it. So now we're going to get into the reason why having a design is so important before you install irrigation. We're going to talk a little bit about drip irrigation and spray heads, and let me show you what I've chosen to do. Now, I will link a video up on top that showed how I converted this whole area and the back behind the gate to drip line. It shows you how to cap off heads, which parts to use, and how you can convert a regular valve into a drip valve just from using a conversion kit that you can get at any irrigation store. Now, this is the area that I converted the valve box to a drip irrigation valve. Let me show you what we did. So this was a spray head. That black tube that you see at the very beginning, that was what was connected to the spray head. We did a little bit of a conversion with this connector here because the size, that hose did not fit the connector to this hose. So we converted it, and now it's connected to drip line. So this whole area right through here is just going to be on its own drip line. Because we have a path that's going to go through here, we didn't want to have to put the drip line under the path. So we connected the second area of drip line for this tree. we connected it to this irrigation head. The other irrigation heads we just capped off. You can see where the irrigation head attached, and now it's capped. This side over here, when I first moved into the property, I had another irrigation contractor come in and he connected these irrigation heads, these spray heads, to drip irrigation line. So it's connected right there. And it's connected here. So these two areas will give this whole area, because we're not going to change the shape of this bed, it'll give it enough pressure to fill all the irrigation lines and, you know, water appropriately. This is going to be the central open shape that's going to be in chat, connected to a path right here. Capped off another irrigation head right there. And we capped off several more over here. There's one there and one in that hole back there. And then we have this line that was put in when I first moved in that gives this spot drip irrigation. Now the beauty of this is if I decide to change the design, let's say I decide to widen this bed, I don't have to dig everything up again. I will just change out the configuration of the drip tube. So it's wonderful how this works. So let's show you the back. Now in the back, we ran a whole new line and a whole new valve to these two pipes here. So these are just connected directly into the PVC pipe so that we can run drip irrigation lines all the way down. Now I wanted to do two lines so that we can have enough pressure to run the drip irrigation. The last thing I wanted to show you is the garden beds. This one right here, and there's one that's buried over there already attached to the garden beds. These lines are on their own valves, so I can run the garden beds as often as they need. This one right here, we're going to run down, bury the pipe, bury the hose, take it down to here, and then we're going to have two garden beds in this area. The other thing I'm going to do is run another line, bury it, run it up the side here. I'm going to put drip lines for pots up at the top. So that way I can have pots up there. I'm going to get rid of the doghouse. I'm going to put my citrus and all sorts of different potted plants up there. See if I can keep them alive. I may have to watch them because they might end up needing to be watered more than the garden beds, but at least they'll have some automatic water on them. So now when it's time for me to run the drip lines in the front, which will probably be next Saturday sometime, hopefully maybe sooner, but anyway, whenever it's time for me to run the drip lines to the front, I'll do a short video on that to show you how I put those together. It's really simple, not hard at all. You've just got to know where the plants are going to be before you put the drip irrigation in. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and go have a wonderful garden adventure.